Welcome to the Soul Archaeology podcast, a space for connection, resonance, witnessing, and learning. Together we'll harvest medicine from the spiral of life, sharing conversations with other embodied humans who have navigated their own initiations and found alignment with their true soul essence. With weekly astrology, energy updates, embodied conversation, and channeled teachings, this is a space for you to land and find resonance with the spiral of your own soul. Hello there. Welcome back to the Soul Archaeology podcast. I'm happy to be here with you on this Monday. It's been kind of almost, I don't want to say quiet, but sort of much more inward and slow since both Venus and Mercury went direct, and we've had some workings with Neptune last week. And as we sort of gear up for eclipse season, which begins officially on October 14th, but we're already kind of in it. We're already in this realignment. We have, this week in particular, we have Venus in Leo squaring Uranus in Taurus. So there's this, once again, big focus on relationships, and Venus just went direct a few weeks ago. So we're still in her shadow. We're still moving through her shadow until October 1st. So there's this interesting focus on really being present with what's coming forward for you in regards to relationships. I've really been noticing that over the last few weeks, the last few months, but especially the last few weeks as Venus went direct and so did Mercury, that there's a lot of realizations happening and just witnessing, these different patterns or things about people or partners that you've been noticing come forward, clarity that's been provided, a light that's been shown on certain perhaps relationships or relational patterns that lie within you, that exist within you, and that exist in the people, within the people that you're connected with. And that's what, a planet going direct really does, is it starts to open up those doors that it's been asking for you to look in for a while and take action. So Uranus is the planet of change. It really can bring about really fast shifts, realizations, changes, pivots. So when Venus is squaring Uranus, and Venus being the planet of relationships, money, love, and they're squaring each other, which means they're creating pressure. They're putting pressure on one another. They're creating they're creating the type of energy that wants to create change, basically. You will notice this week realizations, changes, pivots around money and relationships. And it might not even be on the physical plane. It might be a pattern that you've been working through, that all of a sudden there's a breakthrough, right? You can just see it for what it is, or you can choose to show up differently within a connection, something you've been trying to or working on for quite some time. So Venus loves like balance and peace and flow and harmony. And when it's when it's squaring a planet like Uranus, Uranus will definitely put pressure on it to start making some changes, some of the changes it's been needing to make. But that also might mean that you receive the clarity you need to, but it's not quite time to act on something too. So just know that as well. Uranus will certainly be assisting us in creating mobilized energy, action, things that we really, really need to work on. And then of course we have a full moon in Aries. And this full moon is going to initiate something, initiate a release, a letting go, perhaps even more clarity, because the full moon is illuminated, right? So our internal landscape becomes illuminated by the sun. It's when the sun and the moon are opposite one another. So just knowing that our internal landscape will be on full display, we could receive insights as far as what our relational framework will look like in the next chapter. We might witness relationships that are no longer serving, or new relationships that want to come in. You might meet someone new, or a new opportunity comes through, because it's not just relationships, but it's also money. So just remembering that, just paying attention to what's coming into your field right now. because we are in the eclipse portal, eclipses are very karmic. So they bring things in and they move things out, and they're definitely evolutionary focused. So whatever's coming in or leaving right now is for your highest and greatest good. It's for an evolutionary reason. And so just trusting that if something is leaving, or if you received clarity to leave something, or if you perhaps received clarity around someone that feels differently than they did before, someone that feels good in your space, paying attention to that. If there's financial opportunities that are coming up, new ideas, new ways of bringing in income, new ways of accessing abundance, or perhaps even financial patterns that you're holding within your field that are no longer serving, that will be magnified with this full moon for sure, because it's opposing Libra. We have the South Node over there. So any patterns within our relational framework or our money framework will certainly be on full display, especially because this is the last full moon before eclipse season. We have a solar eclipse on October 14th, the new moon in Libra. And next week, I'm doing a full deep dive on eclipses and what these eclipses mean. But, this is definitely a powerful time to release any relational patterns of self-abandonment, of people-pleasing, of codependency, of abandoning self, but also, any patterns of secretly, subconsciously pushing away the connections you desire. Many of us have avoidant patterns and habits that actually call in emotionally unavailable people, or people that are matching our traumas. So that's what we want to look for right now, is everyone coming into your field currently, any opportunities coming into your field to create abundance or make money, they are karmic in nature. And karmic doesn't mean bad. Karmic means that there's an evolutionary piece within the connection that wants to be healed. So each and every single relationship that comes into our life has history. There's typically a past life history, or there's something within that person that pings a wound within you, or something that wants to be healed, or even something that wants to be magnified, something that they're a great match for embracing or pulling out of you. So just thinking about that in particular, that everything and everyone that's coming into your field right now, especially over the last few months, because it's been heavy retrograde season, but also because we're in the eclipse portal, it's good to just observe what's happening, to know that everything that's occurring is to bring you into a deeper alignment with self, and to really trust, because I will say it's not... Eclipse season is not a time to manifest. It's not necessarily a time to be super rigid with what we're looking for and what we're wanting. And it's more about surrender and trust and faith, and knowing that these eclipses are coming in to reroute us, redirect us, bring something new in, pull something out that's no longer serving. And if we grip and we have, rigid boundaries around what we think we want and what we know we want, that can sometimes happen during manifestation, because that's part of it, right? Is being very clear. We can actually start messing with our evolution a little bit, and it can just create resistance and confusion in our field. So this full moon is a good time to really get clear on what you're releasing, because it's the last full moon before eclipse. It's the actual last full moon or new moon before the eclipse in October. So it is a good time to work with the energy. And because it's in Aries, it's all around releasing anger, frustration, resentment, the shadow of Aries, of course, and stepping into the conscious warrior, which is something we talked about in a previous episode. Aries is also the initiator. It's the first sign in the zodiac. It's the conscious warrior. It moves through things with initiative, taking the initiative to be the first responder, or to enact change that's needed, and it's not afraid to do so. Whereas its opposite, Libra, is so consumed with worrying about how choices will impact everyone else that it can be indecisive. And I'm a Libra, and anytime I see Libra memes, I'm kind of like, okay, some of those apply, but oftentimes I think Libra is actually a very misunderstood sign. I'm sure everybody says that about their sun sign, but I really do think that it's gotten this weird sort of superficial vibe, especially on things like I think it's like co-star and stuff like that. That's just like a little surface level. It's silly, and I always, the memes are always just very materialistic and superficial, and that's not at all Libra's energy. It's actually an incredibly highly intelligent sign, and it's constantly weighing and balancing its external impulses and stimuli in order to create and move through the next timeline more balanced for the whole. So Stephen Forrest says Libra is the nervous system of the zodiac. It's constantly picking up on its external information or data points, and it's internalizing it, processing it, and moving forward in a way that creates the least amount of resistance. And of course, that's not always best, as Aries says. Aries says sometimes we need to shake things up. Sometimes we need to light a fire, you know? And so this is the energy. We feel this, you know, we might have feelings of not being able to move forward, this push and pull, this indecisiveness, this lack of clarity, which hopefully some of the retrogrades going direct will help. But I'm sure this eclipse season, this full moon, you know, before eclipse season, will even provide some clarity around what needs to happen. Because as we move through the end of this year, we will be initiated early next year into the next timeline, and it's coming. And so there's a lot that still needs to be done, you know, before that happens. And of course it's, you know, I'm not asking for you to make a list of everything that needs to happen before you enter your next quantum timeline, but but it's certainly important to pay attention right now, paying attention to what information's coming through, noticing any tendencies to self-abandon, to create, or, you know, to drop into codependency, to keep the peace, and instead looking at where can I create a little friction, a little healthy rupture if needed, in order to move through the next timeline more in flow with more ease. Because I will say, you know, the shadow of Libra is that it stalls so much that it creates so much mental tension. It can create so many stories. If you're a Libra, you get it. You can create so many, it's like mental gymnastics. You are creating stories all the time because you're literally filtering through so many different timelines in order to select the quote unquote best, knowing that the best actually doesn't exist. And with all that time of stalling, the pressure begins to build. Whereas Aries is just impatiently saying, let's go, let's do it. Who cares if we, you know, fudge stuff up, you know, who cares? It's fine. So they have stuff to learn from one another, which is of course always the case with our opposite, our strong mirror. So with this full moon, you will notice, you know, perhaps anger coming to the surface, resentment, frustration, any areas where you feel. So often anger is an indicator that a boundary is being crossed and that nothing's happening to create safety within that space or containment. And so just noticing where that anger is coming through, with Venus squaring Uranus, that can happen a lot too, because Uranus can be a little bit, it can sort of create tension, you know, and especially with a square, there's pressure there. So just notice where you're feeling pressure in your life, where you feel like you need to make a change, but you're not quite sure. And just sitting with, am I stalling? Am I afraid to rock the boat? And am I afraid to create a rupture for fear that it won't repair? Or is it really not time to make the decision? Mars is the planetary ruler of this full moon because Mars rules Aries. So, and Mars is in Libra right now, and it'll be forming a conjunction with the South Node in Libra. So there's a lot of letting go and release in this full moon. Full moons are about release anyway. They illuminate our internal landscape, our emotional realm, and ask for us to purge anything that's no longer serving. But having the South Node, which is letting go, release, conjunct Mars, which is the planet of action, in Libra. Mars in Libra it's a little confused because it wants to create a lot of change. In Libra, like I said, it likes to stall to find the best solution, and it's a bit afraid to rock the boat, and Mars doesn't care to rock the boat. So if there's something you've been sitting with and trying to figure out if it's what's the best next move, hopefully this full moon will provide some clarity before the eclipses, so it doesn't have to come in and just get ripped out, And then, of course, it doesn't have to be that dramatic. It can just be realizations, it can just be subtle shifts or pivots or beautiful openings for a conversation with a loved one, a friend, a colleague that needs to happen that you've been stewing on or feeling, kind of weird about, or perhaps there's been some strange vibes or energies that you've been wondering if you should bring to the surface or to bring to this person. This is a good time to do it, as long as you feel regulated and anchored and feel like it's the right time to bring that forward, because the squares and Mars involved and Aries involved can bring to the surface even like a type of explosive energy too. So just being sure that you feel good and anchored before entering into those conversations, and knowing that a little fire is sometimes needed as well. And this is the harvest moon as well. So it's the moon, the full moon that's closest to the fall equinox, which we had this last weekend, which is where we have a balance of light and dark. And it's such a beautiful time of shifting into a completely new energy. It's moving more inward. It's beginning its descent, right? So there's a shift in the energy and perhaps a desire to really, tie up some loose ends or cut some cords that have been needing to be cut. This moon is also interacting with Chiron, which is something I want to talk about today. And I'll probably do a full episode on Chiron because I work with it a lot with clients. And I see that it's where most of their most obvious or impactful core wounding lies, is in the wounded healer. And Chiron it's the wounded healer. It is an asteroid that illuminates where we hold pain within our evolutionary story. It's oftentimes tied to childhood wounding, but I see that go hand in hand with past life and karma that we bring into this life as well. And it's so wild because when I'm working with clients, I work with them we do parts work, inner child work, somatic work, quantum work. And so we're really getting into all the different layers, right? So we're working with the inner child, we're working with internal family systems, and we're looking at where does the wounding, that's trickling up and through and growing into branches throughout your life, impacting probably most areas of your life that you're not even aware of unconsciously. And what's really cool and wild is that the core wounding always matches their Chiron placement. So if there's a Chiron in Taurus, there's oftentimes, depending on where it lands in their chart, pain around stability, financial stability, stability within the home. It might have been a home where they had to move a lot, they were uprooted a lot, or there was a lot of financial struggle, or perhaps it wasn't even in the childhood framework, but it's held more karmically from past lives. And what's interesting is Chiron is the wounded healer. So it's our scar tissue, but it's also the gateway for our deepest and greatest healing. And it's typically the medicine that we are able to alchemize and turn to gold, right? So it's the pathway, and it can be the pathway to our medicine. As healers, we're typically, so often wounded healers. So we move through our own lived experiences, our own pain points in order to access our medicine to bring to the world. And so Chiron can be a really beautiful entry point or gateway to that. And it's moving from this story of this is happening to me, I am suffering, I am, a victim to this pain, into this is actually a pattern or a theme for the pain of humanity. And how can I move through mine and love it and have compassion for it and heal it in order to help others do that as well? And Chiron in Aries, which is where it currently is all about power struggles. So any time our power has been suppressed within our lives, where we felt this inability to move or to create action, power struggles within relationships, our physical wounds. And so depending on where this Chiron in Aries lands in your chart, it's indicating where there's anger or frustration or pain or suffering around feeling out of your power, out of your identity, not knowing who exactly you are, because we really need to feel connected to our power in order to have a healthy sense of who we are. So as we move through this week and we enter this full moon in Aries on the 29th. I don't know if I mentioned that actually, that the date of the full moon. So it is on the 29th of September. And it's, like I said, the last moon before the last full moon, before the eclipses land on the 14th. So it's really good to work with these pain points so that they don't dominate or hijack our eclipse processes. It's also a really great time to create some beautiful physical plane, healthy structures, relationships with your body. Movement is huge during this time. So if there's any way, your favorite way to move, perhaps it's walks in nature or it's yoga or it's stretching, really leaning into that, because we need to process some of what's held, some of that comes to the surface within our bodies this week in order to release it. And Chiron can really help us with that. It definitely holds the golden keys to some of our deepest healing within this life. And so if you can lean into this energy and just notice what's coming up for you this week, if there's this, the core wound of never feeling attuned to or always feeling like you're giving more than what you receive, working with that, dancing with that, shifting into your power around it, realizing that you aren't a victim to that pattern. You're actually the co-creator of it, right? So that you get to change it. You are not fated to that pattern. And that's where Chiron can get sticky. Sometimes we feel fated. We're like, we're always, every single relationship I call in, it's I'm never seen, I'm never heard, I'm never loved. And that's just a story, right? So we have the power to change it. And that's what this full moon is initiating us into, is changing these patterns that we've felt tethered to, forcing us into our power. So this is a theme, like I said, over the next few years. Of course, it will be a theme throughout this life, honestly, because this is really, really important for us to move forward, sovereign, anchored into our power, our truth, so we can see all of the illusion that is present in our world right now. It's just like actually mind-boggling, the lies and the mistruths that I come across every single day. It blows my mind that it's legal to do stuff like this, but that's why we're here. We're here to be conscious warriors. We're here to filter through our own truth channel, what feels in alignment, and to hold strong, to really honor that. We're going to need that in the next few years. Chiron will be in Aries until 2027, which, if you follow human design, is a really big year as well, of changes and shifts. And I think the years 2024 through 2027 are going to be radically transformative. So buckle up, stand in your power, notice where you're getting pulled out of it in order to, serve some old patterns or behaviors, and trust that you're exactly where you're meant to be. And the card that I pulled today, I've just been pulling nonstop from this Untamed Elemental deck that I had in the giveaway, and it's so beautiful, and I feel super connected to it. I think the podcast is actually really connected to it. So, the messages are super clear in the way they come through. So today I pulled the Cloud card, and it's a beautiful illustration, and I will post it on Instagram too, just so you guys can see it. But the Cloud is about ritual. Cloud arises when liquid droplets transform into crystals suspended in time. He is a kindred of many worlds. His vapor sings with celestial mobility, networking our moods with higher thought. He clarifies the scope of life's unpredictability with foils of wisps, chains of ripples, and scrolls of futures. He is broadcasting Earth's emotional intelligence to the cosmos and precipitating galactic wisdom upon the planet. He is a two-way mirror with the power to influence worlds. Clouds invites you to create magic through ritual. You can quickly usher in the change you desire by designing daily or monthly ceremonies that invoke the visions you hold for life. Cloud reminds you that the world of the spirit and the physical realm are reflections of one another. By crafting meaningful ritual, you join both together to bring your vision alive. Your intentions gather like water droplets, and you are empowered to shower life-giving rain upon beautiful new realities. When it's in balance, it's conscious creation. When it's imbalanced, perceptions of fixed realities that limit potential. And to bring into balance, perform a simple ritual, invoking the full participation of your sovereign sovereign essential self. And I love this because we were kind of talking about, in great times, in times of great change, we really have such a lack of control, right? Especially in eclipse season, it's like we can't control a whole lot, right? We're here to trust, we're here to surrender, but we can control small things. We can control our actions. We can create ritual to help orient us even within this karmic storm. So I love that card, and I think it really encourages you to take ownership and take charge of what is within your control, which is beautiful ritual, honoring, ceremony. And I don't know if you guys have heard of Rick Rubin's book, The Creative Act, A Way of Being, but my partner Matt has been reading it, and I felt inspired to grab this. I haven't read it actually fully, but I kind of use it as a little bit of an oracle, which I prefer. I'm a manifesting generator, so I don't have time to read full books. I'm just kidding. I do read full books, but I really like using them as oracles oftentimes, especially something like this, which is kind of like tidbits of information and wisdom. So the written piece, it's not a poem, but it's a written piece, is from his book. And it's from the part that is called Expect a Surprise. If we're paying attention, we may notice that some of our most interesting artistic choices come about by accident, springing from moments of communion with the work. When the self disappears, sometimes they feel like mistakes. These mistakes are the subconscious engaged in problem solving. They're a kind of creative Freudian slip where a deeper part of you overrides your conscious intention and offers an elegant solution. When asked how it happened, you may say that you don't know. It just came through you in the moment. In time, we grow accustomed to experiencing moments that are difficult to explain. Moments where you give the art exactly what it needs without intending to, where a solution seems as if it appeared without your intervention at all. In time, we learn to count on the hand of the unknown. One way is through letting go of control. Release all expectations about what the work will be. Approach the process with humility, and the unexpected will visit more often. Many of us are taught to create through sheer will. If we choose to surrender, the ideas that will come through us will not be blocked. With your intention set and the destination unknown, you are free to surrender your conscious mind, dive into the raging stream of creative energy, and watch the unexpected appear again and again. As each small surprise leads to one another, you'll soon find the biggest surprise. You learn to trust yourself, in the universe, with the universe, as a unique channel to a higher wisdom. This intelligence is beyond our understanding. Through grace, it is accessible to all. And I really love this because, of course, I've been encouraging paying attention right now, kind of, choosing wisely when it's the time to act, but really, really paying attention and just noticing and surrendering. So I think, his way of sort of channeling wisdom around the creative process is really cool. If you are a creative or just someone who is interested in creation, writing, art, whatever it is, it's a really cool book. So I hope this was helpful for you guys as you navigate this week. The next episode will be all about eclipses, and I'll be announcing some really exciting guests that will be coming on the podcast too, because I've been doing mostly solo episodes because we've been needing a lot of support through this energetic climate. So it's been fun to kind of just do these downloads. But thank you for being here. Thank you for being present, for showing your support. The last episode received so much support, and it just truly means the world. So if you don't mind leaving a 5-star review, rating it, and subscribing on Apple Podcast and Spotify, that helps me so much, because this is a podcast that doesn't have sponsors or affiliates. So this is the only way to really grow. So I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful week. Thank you for being, and I will talk to you soon.